Welcome to my YouTube channel and to my first creation, not alteration project, long video clip. I am not sure whether to call this a motivational video or just a sharing of experience video, but one thing is certain: dreams really do come true. Ever since I first saw these mats, I've loved their texture, colors and softness, the way they drape and mold over curves, what is called in French drapage, or perhaps drapery in English. This is my first time working with this material, and it's the beginning of an adventure, a dream, years in the making, an endeavor for brave hearts unafraid of making mistakes, ready to persevere and willing to walk paths never traveled before. And so I purchased a couple of 50 by 80 centimeters bath mats in a very dark navy, almost black. I wished there had been 3 in the same color, but at that moment, that specific shop only had 2. That meant I had to be very careful with the tailoring, making sure the fabric would be enough for the chest and part of the sleeves for something meaningful to come out. And so, which design? Because I only had 2 pieces measuring 50 by 80 centimeters, the only thing I could make was a short top ending just under the bust with 3/4 sleeves, which would later be completed with something else. Initially, I had a specific design in mind, but 2 50 by 80 centimeters pieces wouldn't be enough. So I had to choose a design where at least the front is made from 2 pieces, a main panel and a smaller one cut from the offcuts. First, I decided to remove the fabric binding to make the most of every millimeter available, since I was working with very limited fabric. After realizing I had cut both undersleeves pieces for the right arm, I carefully planned the left piece on the remaining fabric, even though I had to cut it across the grain instead of along it. Next, I laid out all the remaining pieces to see exactly how much fabric I had left. I made sure to maximize every millimeter, trimming and adjusting the pattern so that each part, the chest, the sleeves, and the smaller front panel would fit. Every cut had to count, because with only 2 bath mats, there was no room for another mistake. Once all the pieces were marked, I carefully cut them out, keeping the edges straight and noting which piece belonged where. The process felt like solving a puzzle, balancing the pattern, the grain, and the limited material, while imagining the final coat taking shape in front of me. Now you can imagine how difficult it would be to join these chenille Bobblemat pieces on the sewing machine. First, I needed to create some space along the edges to join them properly. So I carefully shaved off the bubbles for about 10-12 millimeters around the edges, leaving just the base fabric where the chenille is anchored. I always kept the dust extractor nearby to remove the loose chenille from this 10-12 millimeter margin, which would be used for joining the pieces together. And then I secured the edges with a zigzag seam. I proceeded to join the pieces by hand as the fabric is too thick to pass under the sewing machine foot, particularly near the bubbles. Hand sewing also allowed me to maintain a reasonably even distance between the bubbles on the different pieces. I first hand sewed using a partial back stitch, then reinforced the seam with a running stitch worked over the top to flatten the join. I joined the main panel to the smaller panel, the main sleeve to the undersleeve, and then I attached the front and back pieces along the side and shoulder seam. I do have a couple of darts on the main front panel and on the back. However, I left the back panel darts unsewn until after all the pieces were joined and the garment was tried on, so that I could adjust their depths as needed based on the final fitting session. And of course, I had to shave the areas where the darts would be clipped. When it comes to sleeves, I carry a small ache. Satin sleeves are cut to sit perfectly on the shoulder, yet they lack flexibility. Shirt-style sleeves move freely with the body, but in a natural resting position, they create unaesthetic folds beneath the arm. To reconcile these opposites, I chose to intervene. To the Bobblemat sleeve, already cut in a set-in format, I added a knitted continuation in a shimmering yarn, lighter and less dense than the Bobblemat fabric. This extension brings both flexibility and a quiet charm to the shoulder. Here, I start to work on the sleeve cuffs. First, I secure the edge of the sleeves, and then I proceed to attaching the high visibility trim. I fabricated the collar using the same method as the sleeve cuffs, shaping black liquid water organza along the center fold, adding knitted rows of shimmering yarn and hand stitching it near the high visibility trim. Before attaching the collar, I secured the coat's neckline with a bias trim. Now, the making good of the front edges using a piece of dark blue taffeta I had around.
Set up that repetition for us, so that's very familiar. Okay, so what was that? Right? Good God, it's good. So Kalaf is his name, by the way. He's hippity hype. The sun comes up and the princess isn't gonna know his name. Got her, and he can't wait until that moment. In this like lovely ascending sequence, we have this. My Dio mister che uso in raising up, no. We're just moving through a scale in the vocal line.
And speaking of Nessun Dorma, the famous aria from Turandot that played from YouTube as I sewed my dress, was it a coincidence? That night, from December 29th into the early hours of December 30th, I did not sleep. The file names themselves bear witness, encoding the dates and the hours as the work unfolded. I could not stop. I would not stop, not until this gown, this coat, had finally come into being. Here, I developed an undergirdle linking the top and the bottom of the coat, a transition concealed by the girdle itself, constructed like the sleeve cups and collar from back liquid water organza. I planned to attach Velcro to the undergirdle and the bottom of the coat, allowing the top or bottom to be changed in the future. The Velcro I had was coated with a thick layer of adhesive on the attaching side, which caused my sewing machine to refuse to cooperate. I had to improvise a hand sewing technique that would remain neat and invisible as possible, leaving only small dots visible on both sides. All of this was sewn by hand, pushing the needle forcefully through the dense adhesive that the machine could not pierce. The bottom is a straightforward square piece with minimal folds, hemmed using double-sided adhesive tape. And so on December 30th at 11:44 p.m., my machine let me down. After damaging several needles, it broke, and I had to finish the coat by hand.
Nella tua fredda stanza guardi le stelle che tremano d'amore e di speranza. Ma il mio mistero è chiuso in te. Marina c'ero